Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFLW Fantasy Fanatics round preview. We're recording live on YouTube on Friday, the 25th of October, ahead of round 9. I'm so tired. I've just obviously had my big flight to America. Have hardly had any sleep, but the commitment to the cause is real. We're doing our round preview. We've only got 4 podcasts left of the season, so I thought I'd have a quick power nap and we'd record this. But I'm your host, Bails, and you can find me at Bails DT across the socials. And joining me, as always, is my fellow co-host and AFLW Fantasy Fanatic is Jaden Poposky. Jade, mate, how are you?
Hello, Bails. Yeah, pretty well. I'm definitely in a better state than you are, but yeah, going all right.
Yeah, as I said, I literally said before we recorded, if I was thought a bit more ahead, we probably could have done this on a Wednesday night or something like that, or even done our Tuesday nights or whatever. But I didn't even think of it, and I thought that's all right. I'll stay awake. It's currently 3 a.m. Where I am in Virginia over in America, but that is all right. I'm looking forward to the Crows game. I had a quick power nap, so hopefully we'll be able to last through the Crows game after this. Looking forward to Crows North Melbourne, but because I missed the game, because I was flight, I missed the game from last night. So, Jane, I was actually hoping that you could sort of give us a bit of a roundup of what happened last night and sort of give me a lowdown of what happened in the game that I missed.
Yeah, so I suppose the big one was Kate Hall was a laid out. I'm not sure if you're awake for that or not, but yeah,
Yes.
I only found out quite late as well. So I pretty much just downgraded it to a basement ruck because I know I'll be doing stuff in the ruck this week. So I've kind of just did that to get it out of the way. So now I've got the cash to play with, which was nice.
Yep.
There wasn't a ton of surprise last night. Probably Hawks winning was fairly, great for them. They've already locked in finals, and that really makes the McClellan Trophy pretty interesting next week because I think the Hawks and Brisbane play very similar time. So hopefully Brisbane can win this week as well, and then it'll come down to that last day. It'll be good if Hawks win next week as well because then maybe I think Brisbane plays first. I don't know, one of them. But top scorer last night, Lucy Wales. Obviously, Melbourne haven't had a ruck for a lot of the year, so
Massive third quarter from what I saw, like 49 points or something.
Yeah, so huge 109, and like pretty close, like been one that we've kind of not even really considered this year, but like one of the better picks of the year. And Jazz Fleming, another great score with 100. And yeah, pretty much the Hawks just dominated the fantasy scoring. I mean, Melbourne haven't really had a lot of players who can score. And Goldrick went off late with a concussion type thing. No real news about that yet, but obviously she's locked in. So those that have her probably just wait and see for next week. She does play Collingwood next week, so if she's playing, then you could keep her. But it's unfortunate.
Exactly. That's
with that 58 she scored. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I was looking at, that matchup against Collingwood, and thinking if she can just get a solid score against Hawthorn, which 58 in the end is not too bad. I think she was on 51 when the game finished. She got a +7 added late. But yes, I did see the Kate Hoare news. I paid like $20 for the Wi-Fi on the plane, hoping to watch the game, but the Wi-Fi was not great. It was very spotty. It sort of so happened that I woke up with about probably half an hour before the game started. And I got a message from Eloise saying Kate Hoare late out, like alarm emojis, and in the Discord chat, everyone was like, Kate Hoare's out, whatever. So thankfully, the internet worked for that 5 minutes. So I was trying to do my trade. So I ended up trading out Kate Hoare instead of Caitlin Gould, which we'll discuss our trades in a sec. But I was able to see that, and then I was just essentially just refreshing scores because I couldn't actually watch the game, which was a shame. But obviously, I'm settled in here. I'll be able to watch the game tonight as long as the stream that I'll be watching doesn't decide to play silly buggers on me. So that's what I'm hoping for tonight. But yeah, interesting game. But got plenty more games to come, and obviously with the 2 rounds to go, people sort of charging towards potentially the top couple looking for that Hilux, or obviously the top few hundred are looking to try and squeeze inside that top 100 to get that all-elusive hat, which I am one of those coaches. So seeing that Kate Hoare news was everything. So I'm hoping that that's sort of like maybe that's a sign that maybe I might be able to get a hat, but we'll see how that goes there. But leading us into the round, I guess we'll sort of focus on trades, with Kate Hoare being the one. Obviously, both of us have moved on instead. Jaiden, what have you done with your moves this week, with Kate Hoare being one of those trade outs? Oh, you're on mute.
I've done it again. Hoare down to basement ruck. So that's given me like 800k to play with. I'm thinking, like the kind of issues with my team are the forward line obviously needs a replacement for Hoare, but I've got Peterson as well in the back line who's 500k, and also I could just use that cash to get Strom, possibly. So I'm thinking something like that, where I go O'Dowd up to Strom, and then I've got Fiddler spare, because I traded in that ruck for that reason.
Yeah,
and she's 600k and been managed, so I can trade her to pretty much any forward other than anyone other than Maloney and Gould. But I'm not really keen on either of those anyway. So I'm kind of just weighing up where to go with that. I'm pretty sure like that's going to be a pretty popular boat for people to be in. Like I'm probably considering Ash Saint, or even Gabby O'Sullivan, or I could go Randall. I probably don't know if I want to, though, just with the role kind of changing a bit over the last few weeks. So that's where I'm at.
And then the massive egg on her face, essentially, after last week. I knew that she'd play, that she's the sort of player that she literally needs to be told by people that she's not playing to be ruled out, because she'll do anything she can to play. So, I think she'll play. But, as you said, it's a bit risky potentially bringing her in after. And plus the matchup obviously isn't great either, and the role hasn't quite been there. But I'm doing pretty similar with the Kate Hoare news. Trades I was doing anyway. I was going one of Caitlin Gould, or now it's Kate Hoare out down to Bonnie Toogood, cashing up. And again, I'm not bringing in Bonnie Toogood to be the number one forward and average 80, 90 plus for the last 2 weeks. I'm bringing her in as a player that's priced at 595k that I'm hoping can go 55, 60 plus for the final 2 weeks. And obviously any more than that, I'd be really, really happy with. And that gives me about 300k. Then I'm looking at going. That gives me like 500k. So because Kate Hoare is more expensive. Going O'Dowd up to Strom. I feel like Strom I need, if I'm going to try and push for this hat. I think Strom's a player that I need to be bringing in. And then that means I've got a trade where I need to make 20k from somewhere. So at the moment, I've currently got Anne Hatchard out against North Melbourne, and bringing in Elise Parker, who I like the matchups. Freo this week. Obviously, we know they love stoppages, and we know for a fact that Parker can score sort of in any stat across the board. So I'm liking her as a potential option there. I have looked at a couple of other options, like going a Caitlin Gould out and bringing in a forward, but Chelsea Randall, I don't think Gould to Randall is going to be worth enough of the trade. I've already got Gemma Houghton, so do I really want to go Ash Saint and go double down on Port's forward line? I'm not sure. I feel like I've got my Port forward there, and then Alice O'Loughlin, tough matchup this week. Am I really going to net a lot of points from Caitlin Gould to Alice O'Loughlin? Whereas I think Caitlin Gould against Geelong next week might be okay. So I'm just hoping that she can get a 40 or 50 tonight. And it is what it is. But that's currently sort of where I'm sitting. And I think at least Parkin can go 120. And I think Anne Hatcher might go a 90 tonight. So that's currently where I'm sitting with my current trade plans. We've got a super chat here from Corey Blackledge. So thank you very much for this, mate. He says, thoughts on Kate Hoare to Ash Saint, Eilish O'Dowd to Mim Strom, and Eleanor Hartill to Lily Pearce. Luke Waterhouse has brought her in to take McKee's score with McKee. So obviously gets the Luke Waterhouse on the bench tonight against North. But you'd be anticipating just taking McKee's score. Would you be ticking off those three trades?
Yeah, it looks really good. coming from someone who's doing exactly the same pretty much overall. Yeah, I'm still weighing up about Saint, but I think it's fairly all right. Yeah. Whether I go her or not, but yeah, I'm doing the same. And yeah, loop wherever you can, definitely, because Edmonds got named in the team that went in unchanged. So unfortunately for McKee, who a lot of people are getting this week, the number one ruck role isn't going to be there.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing, right? Is that Alice Edmonds, who we didn't think was going to get named, was named. But then also the fact that Laura Gardner has been named for Sydney as well. We was told she was out for the season, essentially because she was out for 4 weeks. It was round 7, so we thought, okay, well, she's going to miss the final 4 games. But she's back with 2 games to go, so we'll have to see how sort of she goes, and potentially could be an option we might look at next week as well in the midfield. But we do have the most traded in and out numbers ahead of round 9. And as we can see, Kate Hoare, massive trade out, but still she's owned by 50%, over 50% of the competition. She's one of the most owned players in the comp, and only 1,100, only just over 1,100 people got to trade her out. So, and that's obviously updated from as of now. So it's interesting to see that a lot of people probably did miss that. So, but yeah, Jane, just want to talk us through the most traded in and out players, because it looks like with Kate Hoare out, a few people went in a few different directions in the forward line.
I think that's pretty good numbers for Hoare, to be honest, because I think around that kind of 1,200 mark is probably where the trades have been most weeks. Obviously, that will decline over the season. Yeah. So, I was quite surprised to see it that high because, we were both fairly late to figure it out. But I think the benefit was that it was a Thursday night. Teams had just come out. You pretty much only get an hour before the first game starts anyway. So kind of you'd be on looking at the team lineups for the rest of the games, and you probably would have seen that Hoare is out, or you were checking your team just like you do on a Thursday night. So I think that was probably a benefit of that. You'd be pretty annoyed if you missed it, because I think most people managed to get it done.
Yeah, exactly. And as we can see here, a lot of people went different directions. Ash Saint, Ash Maloney, Gabby O'Sullivan, and Bonnie Toogood, all four of the most trade-in players in the top 10. So people definitely going in. Do you have a favourite out of the 4 that if you didn't own any of the 4 that you'd be bringing in? Like obviously Toogood's really cheap. O'Sullivan's got the matchups, hasn't looked amazing. Ash Maloney's got West Coast, which is great, but then finishes off with the Crows. And then Ash Saint's been the one that's been in form, but she's also let coaches down throughout the year as well.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Saint myself, or I could save the cash with Gabby O'Sullivan. If I kind of compare what we have here to what it was around this time yesterday, before everything happened, Strom has significantly increased in the difference in ownership. So I think a lot of coaches have now freed up cash that they would have liked to get to Strom.
Damn it.
And also there was no Ash Maloney yesterday. So she's completely rocketed up. So I think a lot of those 1,100 people went to her. And also, Saint's gone up. O'Sullivan wasn't on the list yesterday in the top 10. So I think that's where most people have gone. I reckon, a lot just clicked on the most expensive player, being Maloney, which, I can understand. I probably aren't going to go that expensive because I can't afford it, but I don't really like it.
And you've been someone all year that said you don't want to pay up in the forward line, and you're sticking true to it. Still at round 9, still not wanting to pay up.
That's why I'm thinking of going down to O'Sullivan, just for like the kind of, she's got GWS and the Bulldogs, so I think they should win both of those. I do want to look at some numbers around what GWS have kind of, their style, because they are quite restrictive for defenders, and I've heard some rumours that she could be like playing a bit of halfback at the moment. But I need to do a bit more research there before I figure out if I go her. I think at this point in time, Saint is probably the one I'm going for.
Yeah, The other player that I don't mind going for as well is Ash Saint's teammate in Gemma Houghton. I think that her scores the last couple of weeks haven't been amazing, but since the first probably 3-4 weeks of the season, she's been great. Gold Coast and who have they got in the final round? Jaiden, I don't know if you've got that there on top of your head there. Port. Who have Port got in the final round?
Yeah, I've got it on my other screen, so I'm showing this graphic at the moment, but
they have got. I've just got up here. So Port have got GWS. Sorry, yeah, Gold Coast and GWS in the final 2 weeks. 2 great matchups. I think that she could go and score quite well. So if you want a bit more of a pod that hasn't been brought in by many people this week, I think Gemma Houghton could also be a potential option that you consider, but that could be biased because I've got Gemma Houghton. I hope that she scores really well. But also Courtney Hodder's another one. She's been really consistent with the forward scoring this year as well. Sydney this week's a pretty good matchup. So if you want to target that, that could also be an option. Anyone else that you wanted to touch on in the most traded in or even in the most traded out from the week, Jaiden?
I think it's fairly interesting to see the ways that people are getting to Strom. Like it is that 500k difference. So it's surprising to see Thomas and Daisy Darcy on there. Thomas is literally a matchup play, I think, based on what I've read throughout the week. Like people have noticed the matchups that are coming and they're trying to get off now with a lower score last week as well. But yeah, for someone like Thomas, like if they're playing against a really good team, it's probably just going to be in the back line more, and she's like just gets the ball every time and like plays a perfect ratio. So I'm hoping she can bounce back. But yeah, I think this looking at this, it kind of forces my hand to go for Strom. I was considering whether or not I should just back in O'Dowd for the rest of the year and just like, yeah, not really muck around, like not really use my money there as someone with low team value. But yeah, and Strom has come off some really good scores, so she's very, very expensive. She probably needs to continue that to make it worth it. So
it's just a matchup though, like against.
Yeah, I think it really forces. Yeah, and Edmonds is playing next week as well, so I did think about that. But at this stage, I'll go for Strom. I think it's just too much of a risk.
Yeah, and even next week against Edmonds, I'm still not really afraid of that anyway because she scores in every stat. She tackles, she marks, she gets hit out, she gets disposals. So like she scores in any way she can. So I'm not too worried about the matchup either next week. I think that she's scoring like a premium midfielder. She's scored 100 pretty much every game bar a couple. The only game she's really bad in was against the Crows, which we know that Jess Allen has been one of, if not the most restrictive ruckman this year. So I wouldn't be looking in too much to that. And it's just the fact that it's the matchup in this game is going to be really good, I think. So that's something to definitely look at there as well. And we also saw on the graphic as well, a few people did trade out Goldrick already. Obviously, if I'd had more time to think about it after, I probably still would have kept Goldrick hearing about Kate Hall being out because I would have thought maybe she might have got a little bit opportunity back in the midfield with Kate Hall being out. But she still played, from what I heard, mostly defence. And she got enough of it, but no marks, only the one tackle that got added late and obviously didn't play the final 5 or so minutes of the game. So that could have potentially been a mid-60 score, but 58 we will get. I have to trade her next week. I knew that was coming at some point, that yawn. Apologies, people. That's what essentially 28 hours of travelling does to you. So we got a super chat from Tim Asher as well, so thanks, mate. So he says here, option 1, going Garner to Amy McDonald or one of the Carlton midfielders. I'm assuming that's Maddie Gearan or Keely Shearer, and going O'Dowd to Strom. So doing that move. So going Garner down to Amy McDonald to get the cash to go O'Dowd up to Strom, or you can go one of the Carlton midfielders. Or option 2, going Daisy Darcy to the Geelong rookie. I'm assuming is it Chantel Mason? Is that who he might be talking about? And O'Dowd to Strom. Or third option, Panga down to McKee, and I'm assuming that's Guttridge to Ash Maloney. So what are your thoughts? So I'm probably leaning to one of the last two options. I don't really like the fact of getting rid of Jazz Garner, even though she's got a difficult matchup this week. What are your thoughts?
I like number 2, I think. There's a lot of Cats defenders that are below 400k, so that's partly to do with how they've scored this year. So I think maybe that could be it. And Daisy Darcy is fairly popular in terms of trading out this week. And I think that's probably just the safest kind of one. Just with playing against Port and North in the run home for Daisy Darcy. And then, I think going O'Dowd to Strom is fairly worth it. I don't really like the last option purely because I don't know if McKee's going to beat Pounger this week because she's not the main ruck. And then, Gutteridge to Maloney. I think Maloney is probably just a bit expensive. So maybe you could half and half those trades and get someone in between. You could do that. But, I like option 2 the most.
Yeah, I'm assuming Tim's also talking about Anna Rose Kennedy, who did score a 70 against Brisbane last week. But then again, the week before, 16, then 32, 15, 5, 23, 24, 26, 24. So clearly that score is a bit of an outlier, the 70. But at the end of the day, if you're getting O'Dowd to Strom and you're just getting a rookie, you probably just putting a dart throw anyway. So if you're looking for the options there, I think we'd be agreeing and going with option 2 there, Tim. So the other question thing I want to discuss before we get into some other questions, obviously, if you've got questions, keep putting them in on the YouTube chat, is with the captaincy for people getting Strom. I think, again, Marinoff is the standout captain option as she is every week, but she plays tonight. So if people have got a red dot, this is potentially the ability to loop Marinoff as a VC just in case she didn't go 120 plus and you want to go a different direction. You might go a Mimstrom captain. Would you be doing that? Or would you potentially bring in like a red dot and put Marinoff vice captain just to sort of, I guess, hedge your bets? Or would you just be comfortable enough just going that Marinoff straight captain and sort of just worrying about what trades you can do and not worrying about that too much?
I think if you've definitely got that red dot, like a Pierce or someone who's not playing, then you might as well. I don't really see why you wouldn't do it, especially in the ruck. Like, if you've got like Strom and Pierce, then both of those can be flipped around whenever you like after Marinoff plays, so there's no issues there. And I think
or if you've got a Fiedler, Hartill, one of those cheaper rucks, it's made a little bit of cash. Easy downgrade to a red dot to have that ability, I reckon.
Yeah, so if you've got that guaranteed option, you could go for it. I don't really see any downside to not doing that. Mainly, I think aesthetic is probably the only thing you're thinking about. But just hope you can back in Marinoff. But let's say like she gets like a lot of attention tonight and scores 80, like you could get a few points back there just by doing this, where there's kind of no risk. I wouldn't be doing it for someone like if you only had like Beatty or someone like that named as an emergency. I wouldn't take that risk, I don't think.
It's probably just got to be a guaranteed red dot, as you say, I think, to take that risk. Is there any world where, like, for people that are like just outside top 100, 200, however, where they're looking to try and sneak in the top 100, is there a way that you'd, again, put Marinoff VC and try and take it on with another captain and try and make up some points? Obviously, the hard thing is Garner and Riddell, who have been two of the other players that people have considered as captain, are both playing the same game, along with like an Anne Hatchard. So it's really like a Mimstrom after, then like a Charlie Robotham, who's been in poor form. But then you're looking at a few other midfielders that aren't highly owned, like maybe like someone like an Ash McCarthy or Elise Parker, who have got good matchups there. Is there any world where you could recommend to someone to take on Marinoff as captain and go for a different player? Or do you think it's just too risky and you'd be just maybe bringing in a pod rather than the captain?
I think in this format, there's not a heap of players that are captain worthy. And that's fairly different to the men's, where a player in the right matchup can really do anything. But because the AFLW is in its relative infancy, I think there's still a lot of players that are a long way above. And when you trade in these premium players, someone like a Mimstrom, who's so expensive, if you're not willing to kind of captain her and you're bringing in for that much, then I think you need to reconsider, because she's the same price as Garner. So if you have no issues captaining a Garner in a normal week, I think if you're trading in Strom, you're backing her in and you're saying, okay, Marinoff's just been tagged, she scored an 80. If I'm bringing in Strom, I need to back her in to beat that pretty much. Or if you already have her, there's a lot of other mids that play tonight. So it is very difficult. I don't really see any options outside of Strom, personally.
Yeah, I think I agree as well. I wouldn't be looking at anyone else. They just don't have the same consistent ceiling as Marinoff does. You're looking at names like a Monconti, like Laura Garner. You're not really trusting after being out for a few weeks. But then you got Ash McCarthy, Elise Parker, players that can hit a 120, but they haven't done it nearly as frequently as Marinoff's done it every week, 120 plus in every game. We've got 130 in every week bar round one. So, I agree. I think it's Strom, or you're just putting Marinoff captain, and you might just back in a pod player that you're trading in. So that's what I'll be doing. Tim Astor's got another super chat, so thanks, mate. What do you think about Daisy Darcy to Jade Britton at 621k? I don't mind this play, actually. She scored a 70 last week, got a couple of lower scores before that, but she did come back from injury, so maybe that could have potentially had an effect. Jade, what are your thoughts on Jade Britton as an option that's a bit cheaper?
Yeah, it's an interesting name because it's actually someone that sat in, I think, the number one overall team for a lot of weeks. And from memory, I'm not sure if this is right, but I haven't watched a lot of West Coast this year, but I think she might be starting in that kind of midfield area. I'm not sure, because her classification is midfielder, even though she's a defender in the game. So
I think she's mostly on the wing. I think that's
so there you go. That's kind of what I was referring to. In terms of who West Coast are playing, they've got Geelong and Sydney. So I think Geelong is an okay matchup. Sydney a bit negative. So in terms of picking a defender, I think it's probably a decent enough role compared to a lot of other defenders. It's not inside mid, so that is something to keep in mind. I think it's okay though. I would probably need to look at some other players around that price, which I don't think there's.
I don't think there's a huge. I think a lot of the players around that price have actually gone up. Like a Georgia Stathis that price has gone up. The only other player that would be potentially around that price that's dropped after a couple of poor scores is someone like a Gab Pound, but I'm not sure that you'd be trusting after a 25 last week. And I know that she's got Collingwood this week, which is a good matchup, but I think Peterson's still been named, has she? I don't think she's actually been ruled out through injury. So it's not like she's going to have that, I guess, that added bonus of if Peterson was out. If she was out, then I'd potentially be considering it. But I'm just looking here, she wasn't named out. So because she's 641k, so I'd almost take the punt on Jade Britton probably over a Gab Pound. I don't know about you.
Yeah, Pound is a decent option, I think, still, just based on the matchups left. Obviously, the Dogs one last week was supposed to be good. I don't think much went right for Carlton, but you could just back in the matchups, which I'm a big believer in this, because she went down 136k last week. So a lot of that kind of bad score money has already been lost. So that's why she's cheap. And you could just, play the future and just say, well, two good matchups ahead, it could be worth just going for it. I'm not sure.
Would you go Gab Pound over Jade Britton?
Probably, yeah, because I own Peterson already, so I probably wouldn't have both, but I think I probably would, just because I know more about Gab Pound, to be honest. That's probably what I'd be doing.
Yeah. But there's that. But then there's also the fact that number one's had Jade Britton, so maybe he was onto something maybe a bit earlier. So it's a tough one. I think both you again taking a bit of a throw at the stumps and seeing if it comes off. So yeah, if you go one of them, I don't mind that at all. So at this time of the year, you probably got to take a couple of risks if you want to jump up in the ranks there. So we'll get to some other questions here as well. Apologies for the yawning and stuff. As I said, it's been a long time since I had a good sleep, but we'll be doing that after the game tonight, and I cannot wait for it. I'll tell you what, far out. Grant Siemens, ranked 104 before the round, missed the Kate Horn news due to living in Finland and no bench cover unless Ella Smith comes off emergency. Pretty shattered. Yeah, Grant, that's pretty tough. I'm hoping that you don't have all three of your trades locked in and you can even just bring in, even if it's a rookie on the bench, to bring in, or if you get cash in other ways, even if it's a Michaela Pounger, worst case at 490, or as we said, McKee is 325. It's not too much to jump up to her. So hopefully you just don't do one of your trades and you can just get that done. I can't imagine you've locked in all three of your trades with Hawthorn and Melbourne players from last night, but maybe you did if you were bringing in a player that last night was expensive and you needed 2 downgrades. Hopefully you can reverse a trade, just get someone better there and just upgrade Ella Smith to someone. I'm assuming that, Jaiden, that's what you'd be doing as well.
Yeah, hopefully not everything's locked in. But yeah, you just try and avoid a donut, hopefully, because even like a 40 is better than anything, and that could be the difference. And hope that your kind of unique players fire.
Yeah, exactly. I'll ask a question actually. So selfishly from my point of view, Bill. So I know Eloise has asked us in the group chat, and a few people might be sort of toying with this with the Kate Horn news out. Would you be using that money, obviously, on going, and I know in Eloise's case she's already got Strom, but a few people that don't, would you be using that cash from Horde down to a 2 good, for example, to go and get Strom? Or would you do that to maybe upgrade a Michaela Pounger to a forward and then maybe go a defender? Obviously, Goldrick was probably the name that people were looking at, but even if it's another defender that people aren't happy with and going and getting a Gab Newton or an Ola Sheeran or Maddie Gay, one of those expensive defenders that are putting up good scores, would you be doing the 2 upgrades and keeping Olish O'Dowd, or do you think Strom's a good enough upgrade that you'd just be bringing her in and just keeping whichever defender? Again, it's all team dependent, but what are your sort of general thoughts?
Yeah, well, this is my position, and I've kind of only come around to the Strom move, I guess, today when I've thought about it a bit more. It just makes sense on paper, but I am a bit worried just kind of about Pounger and Peterson owning both of those, especially Peterson with the injury kind of cloud a little bit. Basically, what I can do is go Peterson to Gab Newton or something like O'Dowd to Strom. That's kind of where I'm at. So I'm even considering I guess the Edmonds news playing does throw a bit of a spanner in the works for me, because I think if Strom is playing Edmonds next week, obviously Edmonds isn't as restrictive as what she was in the second season of 2022, was it? Yeah. But I'm thinking, like, if I'm playing people in the grand final like Eloise next week, do I want to have Strom or not? And if it's against Edmonds, can I go against that and try and make my team better elsewhere? That's kind of where I'm thinking.
What is this? You just assume it should be Eloise next week. What if it's me? I'll have Strom brushed over?
Well, there you go. You'll have Strom as well. So everyone will have Strom. So do I just go against that and hope that because my team is pretty bad. Like, my ranking's okay, but my team is bad because I just did all the sideways trading. So I have no money. So do I think that there's enough value in going O'Dowd to Strom when, Strom is really good because of the stoppages and the high stoppages, but O'Dowd is playing her this week, so she'll get a decent opportunity to be around the ball as well. And then O'Dowd next week plays Port, who is a much more favourable matchup, and realistically, the matchups are only 2 points difference per game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Strong has the favour, but yeah, I'm kind of weighing up. I think it'd be really good if Peterson wasn't named, because then I would just do the Peterson one. I think I'm okay with Pounger for now because I can kind of loop, but
the fact
that's also a consideration.
She's got Freo, Michaela Pounger, so we know that a lot of stoppages. If she does push a bit further up the ground, there might be an added chance for some tackles in there as well. She can lay maybe 5 or 6 tackles and get her 10 disposals and get a 40 or 50. Then I think that's perfectly fine for an F5, considering that we saw last week. We talked about it on Tuesday about all the forwards that all went pretty much in the 30s and the 40s last week. So if you get a 40 from Michaela Pounger at 490k, I think you're taking that. So the thing I guess I'm weighing up is I think I'm still doing the strong move. It's just if I'm doing the Hatchard to Elise Parker move or doing Caitlin Gould to a forward. But as I said to you before, is Caitlin Gould really going to be that much different to any of the other forward options? She's the third highest averaging forward in the comp, and I know she's got North this week, which is obviously not a great matchup. But Bonnie Toogood did score 35 last week. Or 35 or 36 last week in what was obviously Essen and aren't as good as the Crows. And I think Caitlin Gould obviously has been fit the whole year compared to Toogood coming back from injury. I think that Toogood can Gould can get at least a 40, 45, 50. And she gets hits as well. There's an added bonus. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that maybe going Hatchard to Ash McCarthy, or in my case, Elise Parker, is the better play in trying attacking the matchups with the midfielder over the forward?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I said this to you the last time we spoke, but to do with Hatchard, like she's coming off the 3 kind of best matchups you could kind of want. So yeah, the 98 in the last 3 compared to like some 80s and 70s before that, I think you could back in the fact that she's gone well against the good matchups. Now comes the hard one, so she's probably not going to go as well as what she did in the last 3, and kind of just use that, get that 20k and get to a midfielder that you like, and yeah, someone that you think can do the same as Hatchard for a little bit cheaper. Because I think, yeah, with that, you only need 20k, so you're probably just trying to back in someone who can, at least you feel comfortable enough that they will go the same, if not better. Yeah,
and I'm just looking at like Anne Hatchard's like games here. Like obviously she started great with a 123 and a 117, but they were her only 2 scores this year over 105. And then her only other ton was obviously last week against Collingwood. And I know that there have been games where she rested the last quarter, she would have got a low ton, but I don't feel like I think with Marinoff going so well, you're not going to have Marinoff going 150 and then Anne Hatchard also going 130. Like it's just the AFLW is not long enough where 2 players very often are going to be able to go. We've seen it once or twice where two or three players have gone over 115. You've had a couple go 125 plus, but that's normally been in a team where they've demolished the other team and they've played the whole game out. And Garner and Riddell have done it a couple of times where they've gone 115 plus in the same game. But and Hatchard, I don't feel like has been, again, and this will probably be famous last words, because North, I think she's gone 3 sort of high 80s, low 90s in the last 3 games. And now the fact we're all trading her out probably means she'll go 120 tonight. But I don't feel like from the stats that we've seen so far this year that she has really gone like a massive and killed you if you didn't have her as a non-owner. Whereas I'm looking at Elise Parker, again, got GWS this week, and Freo this week, and then got Port Adelaide next week. 2 teams that love stoppages. We know that Elise Park can score well with anyone. I don't see anyone from Freo or Port Adelaide tagging her. I don't know who they would. Maybe Maria Maloney would go to her, but final round of the season, Port you'd think would win anyway. So maybe they don't worry about it. But I think it's but then I can deal with that next week. And then Ash McCarthy also is a great option for those coaches that are looking for her. And also Mon Conti if people wanted to go down that path as well. Corey Blackledge obviously saying here as well, Thomas didn't run out of the square 4 times last week, so missed points. Exactly right. And she didn't score much after the first quarter anyway, which was disappointing. But hopefully Charlie Thomas gets back to a better score this week. Kai Breen was talking about Cynthia Hamilton because he wouldn't be surprised if Laura Garner's are laid out. What are your thoughts on Cynthia Hamilton as a forward option that you could consider, because we did list up the other ones before, and not many people have jumped on her, but 782k, averaging 63, last two scores at 69.85 last week. What are your thoughts on her?
I find it hard to go into a Brisbane matchup.
That's the thing that sucks.
Yeah, so she's played Gold Coast last week. They're kind of mid-table for forwards.
Next week would be different. West Coast, you'd be happy enough to launch into it, but Brisbane, a bit nervous.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't a lot of, there's a kind of a lot of options around that forward line price, but there's not a heap that you'll, there's kind of too many to choose from that you're just going to get it wrong. You just want to get it the least wrong. I think Hamilton is probably fairly priced. So averaging 63, she's priced at 63. Obviously, the low break even off last week, I don't think that really matters because you'd be holding it for the rest of the year. I just feel like the Brisbane is just too much for me to want to do that straight away.
Yeah, I'd agree. The Brisbane matchup's the thing that would turn me off this week. If it's next week, different conversation. But yeah, I just think Sydney will struggle against Brisbane. Brisbane, after that loss last week to Geelong as well, they're going to be roaring to, obviously pun intended there as well, roaring to come out with a bit of a statement after losing that game last week. So yeah, I'd be a bit nervous about it. But I do like Cindy Hamilton as a player, and I think next week could definitely be someone that you look at bringing in. Russell Tassica says, can trade out Peterson or Daisy Darcy? Who should I keep? Both named on field, but injury worries. Well, again, this probably depends on who you're bringing in there. But if you're trading out 1 to 2 and you can get the same player, is it Karen Peterson because Daisy Darcy has still been better, or are you trading Darcy out because she's got more cash on her hand that might help you out next week?
Yeah, I'd be getting off Peterson pretty quickly. I'm only holding her, just hoping she plays, because the matchup's all right, but there's still that kind of risk of I think the best she can probably go is 60, and then Daisy Darcy could be last week was pretty bad, obviously, but you've already copped that, so you could just ride it and be like, well, hopefully she can turn it around. She's very highly owned. And Port's a decently positive matchup this week.
She got a bit unlucky as well. There was a mark that she took, a bit of a slips catch. She should have been lining up for goal, and I probably would have backed her in to kick it. Didn't get paid 15, so she didn't actually. I don't think she got a stat because it's just a ball up. That's potentially 12 points left on the table. I think there was a couple of free kicks from, even as a non-owner of Daisy Darcy, I thought were a bit stiff against her in that game, and that could have easily been. She could have easily got in the 40s, and that was with an injury. So yeah, I think I'd be still backing Daisy Darcy over Karen Peterson, but obviously, both. You'd preferably would want to trade both just with the injury sort of worries there. Henry V, what do you guys think of Kate Shearlaw? Next week, potentially, against Gold Coast, but not this week against the Crows. I wouldn't be launching into that. I don't know if you agree with that, Jaiden, but not this week with the matchup.
Definitely agree, yeah.
If you're going North Melbourne forward, I still don't hate the idea of getting an Alice O'Loughlin even in this matchup, because Alice O'Loughlin's just been consistent this year. I think you could just launch into her. But yeah, Kate Shearlaw would be someone I'll be looking at matchup only. Connor Van der Ploeg says, O'Dowd to Strom and play Michaela Pounger on field. And Guttridge both on. Okay, sorry. So going O'Dowd to Strom and playing both Michaela Pounger and Guttridge on field, or would you trade Ella Smith to any forward, keep O'Dowd and Luke Guttridge and Pounger at F5? This is a great question. I like this one. So is Strom that much of a must that you'd be playing both Pounger and Guttridge on field? Obviously, with the forwards, we know that they're not hugely high scoring. Or do you think that's probably a little bit too far, where you'd probably rather just go Ella Smith up to any forward, keep O'Dowd, Luke Guttridge and Pounger at F5?
Yeah, any forward makes this kind of a more interesting question than what it seems at first glance. If we just go on kind of average scores, Strom is going at 107. and O'Dowd 67. So that's 40 points right there. I don't know if you can find that in the forward line with. So someone like Guttridge averaging 37 against Bulldogs this week could go okay. I don't know if you can find that 40 points and get up to a 80 averaging, or kind of that 80 averaging forward. I don't know if you can back any of the forwards to go 80 this week, realistically.
Well, Kate Hall was realistically the only one that you'd back in do that, but she was the one that's out. So she's probably what's created a bit of this. And it's a good point you make as well, is that I don't know if there's much of the upgrade in the forward line where you get the 40 points potentially of O'Dowd up to Strom. But then the other thing to consider, Fleur Davis has been named. O'Dowd injured her ankle. I think she had an ankle injury. I don't know if it's the same ankle. I know she had an ankle injury early in the season as well that we thought she was going to miss time with there. And the fact that Strom's got obviously the Giants, and it's a much more favourable matchup for Strom, and she could go massive. It could be, realistically, I wouldn't be shocked if O'Dowd went a season low score of like a 50-55 this week, and then Strom went potentially a season high of like 130 plus and get like a 140. So it could be 80, like 70 plus points difference this week just based on the matchup and all the other factors. So, and again, where you're getting that upgrade in the forward line, that's obviously the key thing there. So I think I agree. I'll be doing it, but it's a good question. I do like that one. It does add another layer of playing the extra rookie. But I think if there's any, the fact Gutcher's got Bulldogs as well is also the other thing that also plays into that as well. Larrett 177, McCarthy or Jazz Garner to trade in. So as Ash McCarthy has got GWS this week into the Bulldogs, so two great matchups. And then Jazz Garner has got Adelaide this week and then goes into Gold Coast in the final week. So who would you be bringing in? A little bit of price difference between the two?
Is it?
I think Garner's in the one.
Yeah, I think I probably like McCarthy the most. I think, like you could say like McCarthy will benefit from the matchups, but I think just playing for Freo is kind of the matchup itself. Like every team they play against, they just play their own style of the high stoppage stuff. So I don't really think the matchups are super relevant for Freo, because like the reason why certain teams are easy is because they play a high stoppage game. So I think it is hard. I think the amount of quality players in this game tonight makes it difficult to think that Garner can go a 130. I don't think McCarthy can either, but I like McCarthy the most over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. I think I'm still leaning Garner just. And the reason is because Ash McCarthy's been great this year, but she's averaging 100. Jazz Garner's still averaging 110, and that's including a number of games where she's rested the final quarter forward on the bench. She's not going to be doing that tonight. You can tell you that right now, unless I can't envision either team winning by 5-6 plus goals. And if it was that, it would be late. It would be like close for 3 quarters. They made last quarter, they kick away. So I can't envision that. I'm just looking at the previous games involving these teams. So back in 2020, Marinoff 132, Jazz Garner 117, Ash Riddell 107, and then Anne Hatcho got 94. 2022, when these teams played, Anne Hatchard got a 130. That was obviously a massive game for her. Ash Riddell 103, then Garner 87. Marinoff got a 70. Been a long time since we've seen Marinoff score there. Then the second game in 2022, I'm pretty sure a lot of these, Marinoff 131, then Hatchard, Riddell, and Garner went next with 94, 90, and 84 respectively. Caitlin Gould had 81 with 25 hitouts being the main ruck. But it's the game last year that catches my eye when bit more relevant data, because it's very close to what we'll get. Jazz Garner 134, Marinoff 133, Ash Riddell 127, and then also Anne Hatchard got a 99. So, and that was with 24 handballs. So I'm sort of thinking that Garner can still go big, because I don't know if Chelsea Wren's going to tag after the facial injury. So I think she can go big regardless. But it's hard though, because Ash McCarthy's got 2 great matchups. So it's a tough one. I'm probably slightly Garner, but it probably depends where you are. I think. Actually, do you have the top 100 ownership numbers for both of them, Jane? That might sort of help Larrett's decision there. Maybe if he's near the top 100 and he wants to bring maybe one that's more pod in.
Yeah, so Garner's 42 in the top 100 and McCarthy 18.
Yeah, so if you want the more of the pod, Ash McCarthy's a play, but I guess both are pretty good options because they're both under 50%. So, yeah, I think both are good. I don't know if you really go wrong, but yeah, I think both are good options. What do we got here? A lot of people saying Noff into Strom is what they're looking at doing captain. Henry V, is trading Darcy really a must? So if you've got no other issues, Jaiden, is it worth trading out of Daisy Darcy just with these injury niggles and the fact that she's got a decent enough match against Port this week, then she does have North Melbourne next week. Do you think it's still worth it to trade her out?
I still think she's all right. It kind of depends who you're going to because, no longer really close to the top 5 defenders with some of the form the others are in. I think something to, obviously there's been a fair few injury niggles this year. Like every single game just comes back to life and manages to score well every time. But the last 2 weeks, she's been taken out of the kick-ins and more around that midfield, including at centre bounce. Last week, or the week before, 71% centre bounce, and then last week was 44%. But she's still not in the kick-in. So the last 2 weeks, she's really gone in there a lot more. Whitford came back, so I guess that's the main reason why it was a bit lower this week. But obviously, there's the injury stuff. But the last 2 weeks, the time on ground is more around that 2/3 rather than the 80%, which is kind of what we'd expect for a defender, around that 80%. So maybe this role change is leading to a bit lower time on ground. Yes, there was an injury. I'm not sure about, again, the game against the Lions, though, where 65% time on ground. She had more time on ground last week against the Swans than she did against the Lions. So maybe that's a play as well, is the midfield role, meaning she's on a different rotation. She's not sitting back in defence. Something like that. And Whitford is back now, so maybe there is a bit less ball kind of in there.
Yeah, but I think Whitford's out, in, but I think is Lucy Single out? That obviously is the...
Right, yeah.
Did I read that somewhere that she was out? Obviously,
she is.
I'm not across the teams, obviously, as much as I have been in past because they were all named while I was mid-fight. Yes, obviously, Lucy Single out injured. So, yeah, again, it probably team dependent. Depends where you are. If you're happy to keep Darcy, I don't think she's a absolute must trade. But if you can get up to a Maddie Gay, Ola Sheeran, Gabby Newton, one of those players, and you're chasing a high rank and you're trying to do that to get up there, I could tick it off. Tim Ashworth said he couldn't afford Gab Pound as well in that option there. So obviously Jade Britton would be the option if you couldn't afford her. And he's also got another super chat here who just says, or could go Lauren Butler up instead of getting Strom. So obviously upgrading Lauren Butler. I still think getting Strom, even having Butler there, I think would still be worth it. I think just with the matchup and how much better she is than the next ruck, as we were talking about before. We got Qua Weeds says, I was originally getting Lucy Wales, then with Hoare out, decided to get Strom and downgraded Hoare. Yeah, well, 109 is a great score. We're sort of probably hoping that getting Strom this week she goes over 109. But yeah, obviously it would have been good. You maybe save the cash, maybe get a better player and get a 109, which is solid. But unfortunately, hindsight is a wonderful thing. I have to tell myself that all the time because I beat myself up about all the 50-50 calls I continue to get wrong. Henry V could go Hosking, but you only get one game out of her. Obviously, it's Jess Hosking. I don't know if I'd get Jess Hosking, even though it did seem like she played a bit more in the CBAs last week from what I saw, and I think she had an okay score from memory. If I just get her score up from last weekend, so obviously Freo, it's obviously great matchup. We know for midfielders, So she had she had the 48, like still nothing amazing. I don't know if I would get Jess Hosking. I don't know about you, Jaiden. I'd look for other options.
Yeah, it's the same situation as the start of the year. There's no role really. It's just a bit of everywhere.
Yeah, I think I agree. Sam says he reckons Maloney will go big against West Coast. I think he could be right. It's obviously looking next week about the matchup, and then also the fact she's so expensive. That's probably the thing that probably just turns myself and Jane off a tiny bit. But hey, if you bring in Ash Maloney in, I don't think we'll talk you out of it really still, because I think she's still a very good player and can score well really in any game she plays. Damon Snell, who would you rather field, row bottom or Ali Anderson? I'm row bottom. We haven't actually talked about this with Ali Anderson. She'll have a definite tag coming this week from Tanya Kennedy, which we know is a very tough tag. She kept row bottom pretty quiet last week. Jazz Garner's a different kettle of fish. I think she's very hard. I think Tanya Kennedy can potentially do a quite good restrictive job on Ali Anderson this week. So I'd be fielding row bottom out of the two. I'm assuming you train the other one. Surely you don't have all these midfielders and you got Ali Anderson on the bench. You'd have a stacked team if that's the case. But I think I'd rather field row bottom and trade Anderson. Are you in agreement with that, Jaiden?
Yeah, I like row bottom for the rest of the year. Like Port this week, top 4 stoppage team. And she's coming off a couple of lower scores against lower stoppage teams. So maybe she can get a bit of boost out of that. Gold Coast are a very low stoppage team, so that's probably why she hasn't been that, really close to that number one scorer that some people predicted her to be this year. I guess you could just back her in against a higher stoppage team, Port, and Anderson will get tagged. So thank you for reminding me of that. I'm not looking forward to it.
Anyway, you can trade her out?
Probably not with Hall. I feel like I have kind of too many other things to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Don't just love fantasy. Where was it? I had another question here. Oh, and Robon as well looked a bit better last week. She looked like she had a bit more wasn't as tired. Still copped a bit of sort of attention off the ball from Sydney. But I think, North aren't going to tag last game either. So I think that, Robon rest of the year I think is good. Corey Blackledge, what would you take from Jess Waterhouse to take over McKee? Probably a 40 is probably where I'd be looking at. You wouldn't want to bank in something in the 30s just because even if you get a 30 or even a 25, you're only losing 10, 15. But I'd rather take the chance of getting a 40 plus. Would 40 be your line, Jaiden?
Yeah, that's spot on what I had in mind.
Yeah. Beautiful. Matt says, need your help, boys. Thoughts on Hatchard to Ash McCarthy and Karen Peterson up to Jade Britton, leaves Ponta and Pounger at F5, or could go heads up to a 1.1 million defender and play Karen Peterson on field. So, would you be going Peterson up to Britton or Ella heads up to one of those big defenders?
It's a good question. I think
because Ella Heads has got a tough matchup against Brisbane, but she has been playing a bit more in defence, which is, again, don't know why she's ever playing on the wing, but she's been playing a bit more defence the last couple of weeks. And even in tough matchups, she has still been able to get the job done. She had those two really poor scores in the middle of the year of like the 20 and the 30 that she got in back-to-back weeks. But outside of that, she's pretty much gone 50 plus in every other game. Like she started 54, 65, then got a 20 and a 33 in back-to-back games against Richmond Giants. But then went since then 96, 66, 64, 76 against North Melbourne, and then a 62. So she's gone over 60 in every game since round 5. Even though Brisbane's tough matchup, I still think she can go okay. But obviously, it's just the upside of maybe getting one of those top defenders and just hoping Peterson does it. Does this come down to, Jaiden, sort of where you're ranked? If you want the ceiling play, you bank on Peterson just getting a 50 and doing okay, and then going heads up to the bigger player, and the floor plays the Ella Heads and Britton plays. That probably where you'd be sort of leaning.
I'm thinking that the heads trade probably gets you more points.
I think this week it does. I know that matchup is tough, and I was just talking about that Ella Hedge can still do well, but she's not going much more. She's not going to go over 80, put it that way. She's going to go somewhere between 40 and 65, I think. That's probably where you're looking.
This is probably why I like Gab Newton in this situation with the role and the matchups that she's got. I think
over Isla Sheeran,
I would. I think you've missed Sheeran's good score, and Richmond's matchups to come make me actually want to trade Conti, but I don't have enough trade. So
trade Conti.
What second worst matchups to come? Essendon and Hawthorn.
You're right.
I own Sheeran and I'm happy to, but I'll probably like Newton more.
And you're not getting that 117 either, whereas Gab Newton's been very consistent, pretty much over 80 most of the last few weeks. Great role, 2 great matchups. A pod as well, a lot more unique than Isla Sheeran. Because Isla Sheeran was still not highly owned last week, but people brought him in this week, and you're not going to get that 117 at the end of the day. So, I think that the Gab Newton plays probably where I'd also be leaning as well. And you're sort of just hoping that Karen Peterson can just go okay for you. So, I think that's where we would be leaning. Matt said, I can only get Newton if I go Hatchard to Parker, not McCarthy. So would you go personally, for me, I'd be happy settling for Elise Parker. I think the matchups are great, the last 2. And I know Ash McKay's are good, but would that be where you get Gab Newton? Or it pretty much comes down to, would you rather Maddie Gay and Ash McCarthy or Gabby Newton and Elise Parker?
Yeah, Gay has the best fixture for defenders, so it is tempting.
Maybe you go that way then. Maybe you go if Maddie Gay's not a bad person to settle for if you can't afford Gab Newton, and you get Ash McCarthy, who's got still the better matchups over Elise Parker. And if I could afford Ash McCarthy over Elise Parker, I probably would do that. I'd probably lean to Maddie Gay. Thinking about that now, because I didn't actually realise how good the matchup was for her. And get Ash McCarthy. Would you be leaning to that combo?
Yeah. He's just kind of saying it's under 1.1, but every defender is below 1.1. So I'm assuming maybe saying 1 million. In that case, I'd definitely go the Parker one and get that kind of really good defender.
Yeah, I guess because Parker's under the 1.1 million in the midfield, and it's a decent it's a decent amount of cash between Ash McCarthy and Elise Parker, which is obviously why I and a lot of others can't afford that if you're doing a few combos. 1.231 compared to 1.151, so you got a good 80k difference between the two. So if you can't afford those defenders quite enough, you got Beck Webster, you've got Maddie Newman, who obviously has been very good, even though she's got North. I think you could still launch into Maddie Newman. She's got a great role. Got a great role there. So would you go Maddie Newman and Ash McCarthy, or do you think that probably favours it a little bit more to going a Maddie Gay or a Gabby Newton and Elise Parker instead?
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a difference between McCarthy and Parker. So in that case, I'd just go the cheaper one, get the better defender who plays midfield. That's probably what I like personally.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't North Melbourne for Newman this week, I could definitely see why you go that way. But you can get Newman next week. She's got what's her break even? Her break even would be pretty high because she had a bit of a quieter game last week, and she might even drop a bit more this week if she doesn't go massive.
It's 84.
Yeah, so she could hit that, but she's definitely not. I don't think she's going to go up that much in price. Put it that way. So. Yeah, I think I agree. I'd be going the Parker and Gabby Newton option. And just to finish off, because we are just about to wrap up, I'm just seeing if we missed any questions. We've got most of them today, which has been really good. Actually, no, we did get all of them. People just getting in on the chat saying Sam would say I'd go Newton or Maddie Gay, and then Russell was saying Parker's still a good option. So. Yeah, no, good one to end off the pod there as well. Actually, Henry V she plays one game following every once in a while, but she's named against Geelong. I'm not sure who that would be. But yeah, I don't know who you referred to there, Henry V. Maybe I'm just tired, and maybe that's why I'm not understanding. But anyway, I think we'll wrap up there as well. I am actually impressed with myself for getting through this with not too many yawns, only a couple, which is good. So, but Jane, for those people, Hosking, sorry, doing a following job is what Henry was talking about. Okay, gotcha. So just for people that missed it before, Jane, what were your trade plans and your captain plans this week?
I did haul down to basement ruck, so that gave me the cash to play around with today and over the next few days, no doubt. At the moment, I'm just matching everyone and going O'Dowd to Strom, and bringing that ruck frees up Fiddler to go to Ash Saint in the forward line. That's where I'm at the moment. I think I could play around with it and not go for Strom and kind of just do something different just for the sake of it.
If Marinoff goes 131 for you tonight, that potentially could sort of help you. But if Marinoff goes sub 110, maybe then that goes, oh, well, I need to get Strom then. So that could be obviously when you play around with it a bit.
Yeah, it's just that Strom is priced at 110, and I think could I use those points elsewhere in a better way? I've probably got a bit more to think about there, especially because I like Newton so much. So, and whether Peterson is playing or whether she's laid out, there's a few things to consider there. But yeah, I'm going Marinoff VC. Hopefully goes a big score, because then that means I don't need Strom anyway, and I can and R over it for the rest of the today and early tomorrow.
And for me, I'm going Kate. I obviously went Kate Horder to Bonnie Too Good last night. Then going Anne Hatchard to Elise Parker and Eilish O'Dowd up to Mim Strom by getting that cash there. Again, like a bit like what Jaden said, if I wanted to, I could just keep Hatchard at M5. I could even just keep O'Dowd at ruck, and I could go. But the only thing is, there's probably no defender. Like I could realistically go Ella Heads up to Gabby Newton. I could do that trade, and then I could also upgrade Michaela Pounger and bring a forward in. But there's no forward that I'm like, I really want to bring them in. Like Ash Maloney, I could still bring in for Michaela Pounger. So it would come down to what would be Maloney and Gabby Newton. Maloney, Gabby Newton and Hatchard versus Ella Heads, Elise Parker and Michaela Pounger. So that's sort of where I'd be leaning. And then obviously not getting Strom in that scenario as well. So that's where I'd be leaning there, but currently still doing the Elise Parker and Mim Strom trade to try and get that upside to hopefully crack inside the top 100. Going Marinoff VC tonight, expecting to take it. And then if I don't, it would be Mim Strom captain. And then that's if Ebony Mouth didn't have a good game tonight. Hopefully she does, and hopefully the Crows get a much needed win right before finals that will help sort of shape up how the table looks. But Jade, mate, thanks once again for jumping on for another round preview. Only one more round preview to go next week, but where can the people find you across the socials and the website, Stats by Jaiden?
Yeah, that's it, statsbyjaiden.com.au. One final update for that next week with all the stats that you will need on there. It's going to be a very interesting weekend, especially I think the most tantalising part about it is the fact that Strong and O'Dowd play each other. And it's just going to be like, that's also why I'm kind of leaning, could I just hold and hope that they kind of just like, one of them hopefully doesn't dominate the other, and it's just a case of like they both go all right or they both go bad. They're playing on each other. So I'm thinking it's just going to be very interesting to watch tomorrow. So I'm keen for that.
No, it's definitely going to be a good watch. But I just think that even in this matchup, Freo love stoppages. Mim Strom is going to dominate the ruck. And Mim Strom has already equalled the hit-out record twice this year with 48 hit-outs last week against West Coast and then in round one against Essendon. And in both those games, she's went exactly 133. I think she potentially could have 50 hit-outs and be the first player in AFLW to get 50, just with how good the matchup is and with the stoppages. So that's still why I think I'm leaning to the Mim Strom.
She's had those stoppages all year, though.
I just feel like O'Dowd is a better matchup than what Steph Wales was in round one, and then even what Sarah Lakai and that were last week. Because Lakai is still a tougher ruckman to get hit outs against. Obviously, the other rucks West Coast aren't. That's where Mim Strom dominated, and she dominated really in general anyway. But I think O'Dowd could be pretty big with the hitters. But we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. Anyway, and very keen to see how it all goes. You can find me at Bails DT, and make sure you do obviously go check out all the Jaiden stuff as well. And you can also follow Mitch at Ball Boys Fantasy and follow us at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you do smash a big thumbs up on the video. We've got 50 people now watching, so all of you guys can just smash like on the video now. And if you're watching on the replay and can smash like, that'd be fantastic. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also for the people that are listening back on the podcast, again, thank you for listening back. And if you could leave us a 5-star rating and review, that would be very much appreciated. Good luck, everyone, for round 9. Hopefully, you guys get close to the sort of the top 100 and can push for a hat for the last part of the last week of the season, which is what I'll be hoping to do, and hopefully get my first hat in a competition. That would be nice. But yeah, good luck this week. Enjoy the football. And we'll chat to you guys on Tuesday for our round review. So thanks, everyone. Chat to you then. Have a good weekend. See ya.